I'm tired of horror games. Seriously. The constant stream of jump scares, every new game trying way too hard to be scary, or being a cheap clone of a much better one, it all gets boring after a while. Coincidentally, I stumbled upon some very unusual, challenging games that ended up making me create this video. These games have very unique ways of scaring you. The place already feels unsettling. The cold pastel color palette aside, the fog is so thick that the only thing we can see around us is the straight, flat land and tightly packed trees. From the very beginning, the game makes you feel that something is off, because in the middle of this dense forest, there's a children's slide. See, this technique is special. It's used specifically to build the most disturbing atmosphere possible, the intersection of innocence and danger. Let me give an example to make it clearer. In No Country for Old Men, the character is a cold-blooded, emotionless killer. But what really makes him terrifying isn't just those traits. Look at his haircut. He uses a style that was extremely common among children of that era. That creates a thin purgatory in our minds between innocence and danger. Speaking of purgatory, the place this game takes place in feels exactly like that. The atmosphere is crafted beautifully. Naturally, we do what anyone who sees a slide would do. We go down the slide. But nothing happens. After sliding repeatedly, the sky suddenly turns completely dark. Clearly, we got a bit carried away under the spell of this slide, but something's wrong. Strange noises are coming from inside the slide. When we climb the ladder, we see someone dressed in a Halloween costume and lots of ketchup. Of course, we don't care. We must continue sliding. The slide feels like it's opening into some chaotic hidden dimension. It might even contain chained creatures and a massive heart inside. Naturally, we have to make a critical decision here, and my final decision is to keep sliding. But this time, the slide doesn't end. We find ourselves in an extremely narrow tunnel, and the game introduces a new mechanic: crawling. The critical part is that you have to do it at exactly the right moment, or it does nothing. It's not hard to guess why the mechanic works this way. We're going to learn that in a painful way soon enough. I especially loved what the game does here. It constantly creates contrast. One moment you're in a claustrophobic corridor, the next you're dropped into an endless, boundaryless area. While climbing up the long stairs, we come across a structure reminiscent of a temple. And this is where I noticed another thing the game does well. It makes the player feel small. Everything around us is gigantic, especially that heart. The moment we release the heart and let it sink into the pit, we hear strange footsteps coming from inside. And yes, there it is, the source of those sounds. Character design in horror games has long been a topic of debate. Some want more realistic designs. Others believe the further it strays from reality, the scarier it becomes. I'm usually neutral on this, but this creature's design is genuinely frightening. Now let's get to the sequence that earned this game a place on the list. While the creature chases us from behind, we try to escape through the suffocating tunnel by crawling at the perfect time. The sound design here is so effective that I swear I felt something grabbing at my back. But I made a mistake. I assumed that since this is an indie game, the developers wouldn't have the budget to animate a huge monster crawling after us. They'd probably just use sound effects to scare us. I was wrong. After the tension reaches its peak, we meet a familiar friend. Yes, the slide. We experience it one last time. And when we turn around, the playground and the slide are gone. Our cute little friend's name is Seth. He's the host of a show called The Salvation Project. But things start off strangely between us. From his very first sentence, he says that today's broadcast is tailored to our fears. Then he asks us a question. Which of your fears would you like to talk about? For a moment, I genuinely thought the game was giving me a meaningful choice, one that could shape the direction of the story. But no matter what we say, he always somehow brings the topic back to Satanism. Kermit claims that our house contains objects filled with satanic energy, and that we need to burn them, or else demons might enter our home. So what do? We burn a book, a photo, and a Metallica poster. This is where the game introduces a subtle reference that we only understand at the end. The poster is a special edition made for one of Metallica's most beloved albums, Master of Puppets. The next day on the broadcast, Seth talks about a major discovery. According to this discovery, demons scientifically enter our homes at 8 p.m. Realizing it's almost 8, we get up from the TV in fear. When making a simple psychological horror game, your tools are limited. You need a good story, a creepy atmosphere, and effective sound and music design. The music is so well used throughout the game that you don't need to see anything scary. You feel like demons are surrounding you. Kermit does his part well, constantly reminding us that demons are here, and we need to take precautions. He even says one of the scariest sentences I've ever heard. Be careful or they will. Because of that line, we're always on edge. It feels like someone is around us, but no one is there. Until the end of the third broadcast. Without resorting to cheap jump scares, it simply shows us that the threat is inside the house. Even better, it's walking the same path as us. When we return to our room, Kermit is sitting at our desk. The background music completely stops. Just the ticking clock and a green frog. He says he came to protect us, that he'll guard us while we sleep and help us get rid of the demons in the house. The next day, we see Kermit again, but this time he's shouting directly at us. He tells us to barricade all the windows and not let them in. As we do that, everything darkens and we see the demon walking past the corridor, only this time it's coming straight at us. In my opinion, the game should have ended here because after this, there are no strong horror sequences. Kermit betrays us, we learn he's working with the demons, and we helplessly become their meal in our room. The only problem is that the entire scene plays out in an unintentionally comedic way. Remember the album I mentioned earlier, Master of Puppets? It's a direct reference to the ending. There's a puppet, and it has a master, a demon. I saved my personal favorite for last. I won't talk about the gameplay, story, or flow, because I want you to experience this game yourself. In this horror game, we are hunted by a butcher named the Butcher. This one is a bit different. Usually horror games give us areas to breathe and feel safe. For example, the painter's room in Layers of Fear, the open spaces in Dead Space, the vents in Outlast. No matter how unsettling Outlast is, once you're inside a vent, you know the threats outside can't reach you. The vent system exists in this game as well, but here's the problem, they're not safe. The Butcher memorizes the vent exits and chases us through them, and if we decide to stay inside a vent too long, he has a different solution. He pumps poisonous gas into them. There is no safe spot in the entire house. You're constantly on edge, and the overall PS1 style graphics filled with human body parts make the atmosphere very disturbing. And yes, you're thinking correctly. This game is a reference to Michael Myers' Stay Out of the House. Throughout the game, it maintains the triangle of tension, danger, and the unknown extremely well. Even though I didn't talk about it, the story is nicely crafted too. It truly separates itself from the generic examples of its genre. I shared the horror games that I personally found genuinely scary, disturbing, and impactful. They all have one thing in common. They don't rely on exaggerated tricks, screen-shaking bear jumps, or overdone sound design to scare us. They show us that something is wrong using their own unique methods, and that's the hardest thing to do. Psychological horror games will always have a special place for me. Their philosophical storytelling and ability to be terrifying without even trying makes them truly special.